Afternoon folks, we're now going to do the takedown of the Scorpion CZ Evo. We'll start off by taking off the handguard and taking out the battery. Flash hider off first, it's a clockwise thread, and then the retaining nut behind it shares the same thread. The receiver just slides straight off, like so, and be careful not to lose the cocking handle and the spring inside. Okay, we'll turn it over and we'll take off the stock, depress the spring guide and slide the stock off. Then we'll take the spring guide and the spring out, 90-degree bayonet movement, straight out. Okay, take the motor base off now. All the machine screws are really good quality and not slipping in any of the Allen keys that we've used. The motor base is very substantial piece of cast aluminium with a really big adjuster on it. The motor is an ASG short shaft basic motor, but an ultimate grade basic motor is not a basic motor like anyone else's basic motor. This is actually, it feels like quite a high torque unit. There are 3 screws holding the pistol grip on. Wrong one. Are you ready? Option. Got a pin here. We undo that body pin and then we take out all these pistol grip screws. Like so. Then we can take the lower receiver off, like that. Make sure we don't lose these pins, and as you can see the fire selectors are again really good quality, very substantial, none of your nasty scar type selector, on a par with I would say Magpul Masada style and quality. And that's a PTS Masada, not an AK1, ANK1. Okay, now we'll take the 2 sides of the upper receiver apart to get to the gearbox. Take the battery out while we're there. The receiver is very tight, and which means it's a very good fit and it's been very well engineered. So I'm not complaining about that at all. And I would say it's not designed for the user to take apart many times. You've got quick access to the spring and that's really all you need. Okay, that's the upper receiver off, and that's the bolt return spring, which has a spring guide which will be nestling around in here somewhere. But we'll take the barrel out first, and that just lifts out and the inner barrel and hop just come off like that. Okay, and slide out. The hop unit is a very simple unit, but it does have a very good ratchet system, which means that when you're setting your hop, it's not going to come off very easily. It shouldn't unwind itself at all, like so. Okay, we're now inside the receiver itself. I'm just saying the receiver is made out of very thick, good quality polymer, and it does fit together really well. It's not an Airfix kit. The gearbox is fitted with bushers, not bearings. Okay, I'm surprised at that for a gun of this expense. I would have thought they would have gone for ball races, certainly on the bevel gear, but they haven't done. Again, the fire selector is really good, very impressed with that. You've got a very big teeth, so it's not going to slip and wear easily. The polymer that is made of looks like it's good quality, again very similar to the Magpul PTS Masada. Even the trigger stop safety is very similar to the Magpul Masada, and you can see there, that's how it works. Slide the selector plate across and that's all it does. It just stops the trigger touching the microswitch inside. All the MOSFET and microswitches are housed inside the gearbox, and you can see there all three that are used in the fire control system. Obviously it is ambidextrous, so the ratchet system transfers across the other side from the fire selector and transfers across the other side of the gearbox. Again, very well made and good quality materials. You'll see here that, as in all the advertising, they've said that the unit is made in Denmark. Which is quite cool, really. Okay, we'll try and take the gearbox apart now. I'm going to leave the wires in the receiver, in the hand pistol grip, because they do take a while to get out. I slide the top off, like so. One. And take all the gearbox screws out. Okay, we're now ready to take the gearbox apart, and obviously we don't have to worry about the thing exploding into a load of pieces because the spring is already out, which makes it a lot easier to get apart. So we'll lift the top off. We'll do it very carefully because the trigger switch unit and MOSFET will be in two separate parts, I'm sure. So there we go, removing the top for the first time. We can see that the MOSFET is housed in both sides of the gearbox. You can see there the trigger switch, and very much like Airsoft system and ASG, we've got there the cut-off levers lifting up a small microswitch there to trip out for semi shots, and it will also be used for counting the number of shots it's done, like for 3-shot burst, etc. You can see on the front there's a microswitch there for the stop for the magazine. it does look very dry in this gearbox. There's a bit of dust off the piston there where it's been rubbing on the side of the casing, and it may have been done on purpose to stop any lubricant and rubbish getting into the actual circuitry, because it is quite exposed. You'll see there that these two sets of pins have got to be very accurately lined up when you're putting the gearbox back together, or else you'll bend them and make a mess of it. Also, I've noticed is that this particular gearbox, as you can see here, doesn't look like it's been shimmed very well. We thought initially it did squeak quite a lot, which the evidence now shows itself. The bevel gear there, as you can see, looks like it's been, well, it has been catching the side of the gearbox, and I suspect that's because it's not been shimmed properly. If we take the bush off, you can see there isn't actually a shim under there, which is a pretty poor show. Now this is a pre main run production model. We've only got one, so I'm sure ASG can be forgiven for that little error, but anyway, let's see how it goes. There is a shim on that side, but I would imagine we can change the shim in to suit and make sure that that doesn't squeak anymore. Okay, I'll just lift the piston out now and tap it plate. Again, hardly any lubricant anywhere at all. Just looking firstly then at the nozzle. That nozzle looks like a bespoke unit with no taper or shape to it. It hasn't got an O-ring, which I'm a bit surprised about, but we'll just test the compression in a little while. The head looks fairly standard. It is a plastic head. Okay, I'll take the piston out. It's a vented cylinder. It looks a bit like a Lonex ASG Ultimate Upgrade style. The piston's definitely the same, an Ultimate Upgrade one, but this time in a black material. The pickup tooth is plastic. The second tooth's been cut out, as in all the Ultimate Upgrade pistons, and the head looks similar to a Ultimate Upgrade piston head. It is made of nylon. There is a little bit of lubricant in the cylinder, as you would have thought, but I would have put a little bit more on that. Just testing the compression there without the nozzle, which is really good. It shows good tolerances that are working to. Put the nozzle on. There's a minimum amount of grease on there. Try it with the nozzle on. Again, that's really good, so perhaps it doesn't need an O-ring. I would imagine time will tell. So looking at the rest of the gears then, the gears look like, and forgive me for saying this anybody, but they look a bit like classic army gears, but I would have thought again they would have used Ultimate Upgrade gears in a gun of this quality and expense, but there you go. There's hardly any lubricant at all on the gears, which is not a massively bad thing as long as all the teeth have actually got lubricant on their faces. Now it looks like they've possibly been sprayed before they've put in and then put in afterwards, so it's like a dry lubricant. There is a tiny bit of evidence, you probably can't see it on the camera, where the sector gear has been sort of slightly touching and spiral patterns have appeared on the spur gear. So again, when I put it back together, I'm going to just re-shim it and just to make sure that that is actually running properly and smoothly. Other than that, I think that's all we've got to say about the internals. Again, just a little bit more lubricant, but we'll try not to put loads of lubricant in so it doesn't end up in the switch gear and spoil anything. Okay guys, I've put it back together now. It is a bit fiddly, I have to admit. One thing I didn't mention when we're inside the gearbox, I didn't point out that there's no anti-reversal latch. That's because the MOSFET has got active braking, hence why the motor's got quite strong magnets, etc. to stop it. I'll just give you a quick firing demonstration now. I don't know whether you can pick up the difference. I've adjusted the motor height slightly and I've re-shimmed the gears, and I think it does, and I put a bit more lube in. I do think it sounds a hell of a lot better.